hoffwn i ddechrau drwy ddiolch I Heledd a dwi croesawu cyfle i'r cymryd rhan o'n y ddadl hon. And we've already heard much today about our rich and diverse cultural heritage here in Wales, but as a proud North Walian colleague, shouldn't be surprised that I'm going to focus his contribution on the cultural contribution of my corner of the country, whether it's from the Llangollen International Eisteddfod to the Greenfield Valley Heritage Park, things like Flint Castle and the North Wales International Music Festival held in St Asaph. It's very much something to be celebrated, in some cases venerated, but it's much more than that too, as we've heard today. Our cultural offer is multifaceted and it has the potential to bring broader benefits to our communities, to our country, to our people, our places and for our environment and our economy. It's not just there as entertainment and to entertain, it has the potential to inspire and empower. Neither, as we heard, does it need to be elite and exclusive. It's at its best to be as inclusive and bring in communities together. An institution and a community beacon that is serving as a shining example of that is Theatr Clwyd. Housed on a hill on the edge of Mold in my constituency, the theatre opened in 1976. I often think now, I don't think we'd see that happening today. It showed ambition beyond its time. And it's been going through a multi-million-pound transformation, a huge capital investment, thanks in no small part to the Welsh Government and other funding sources as well. The theatre is actually the biggest producing house in Wales. It is one of the UK's leading cultural organisation and creates acclaimed and award-winning shows that bring both huge audiences to the theatre itself, but also tours in terms of across Wales and beyond as well. But the theatre is not just a cultural gem, it's a community one too. They are now the leading provider of music education in Flintshire, and I believe 2,600 children have music lessons through them every week. They do things like they support a specific group to support LGBTQ plus young people. They run health and wellbeing activities, things like arts from the armchair, summer hubs for vulnerable children, and much, much more. And the redeveloped building will have new dedicated spaces to enable all of these activities, not just offering a cultural home in the area, but also a community hub as well. It's also very much playing its part for the environment and our economy too. The redeveloped Theatr Clwyd building will become one of the most environmentally friendly redeveloped theatres in Europe. Plus I understand that the scheme in terms of the redevelopment has diverted demolition waste from landfill, including things like the reuse of over 2,000 of its original 1970s bricks for a new facade in the building, and the gifting of old theatre seats to smaller community-run theatre and cinema companies. Back in 2016, their turnover was £4.6 million, and they employed 60 company members, with the economic impact in North Wales at that time calculated at £7.2 million. During the redevelopment, the turnover has been around 7.6 million, with 153 company members, and following its finish, they've cautiously predicted the turnover of 12.8 million. They'll have close to 250 core employees and employ over 500 freelancers during the year. And that economic impact is likely to grow to over 20 million per year in North East Wales. Clwyd, the benefits it brings, not just in terms of culture, the economy, well-being, supporting young vulnerable groups in the community as well. That's not frivolous. That's fundamental, and I think it's absolutely fabulous as well. And this debate today is really timely in terms of talking about Theatr Clwyd, in that I was really privileged to go just over a week ago and see the production of Tick Tick Boom, which is the first production within the newly redeveloped theatre. It's a fantastic production, really enjoyed it, great cast, and you could already see the impact the updating to lighting and to sound had already made to the experience. And as we stood up to give them rightly a standing ovation at the end, I actually felt really, really emotional to see that, the theatre almost nearing completion, and we expect to have its official opening next month, because like many people in my area, I grew up with an intense personal connection to that theatre. I was trying to reflect the first time I actually went there, like Jack mentioned, as well as a child. And I'm not sure whether it was Alice Through the Looking Glass or Wind in the Windows and Toad of Toad Hall. But what I do remember, sat there in the audience, just being in awe that those books I'd read or been read to me, actually literally seeing them come to life and the difference that made. And as a slightly older child, it did make a difference to my life in that I don't think I would have gone to university to study English literature. if I hadn't had that theatre on my doorstep and the ability to see things performed and actually how the written word could actually come to life in that way as well. So, you know, I'm really pleased that that transformative investment secures that theatre for future generations as well. So before I close, I will try and talk about something else other than theatre Clwyd, and just indulge myself because I can see I'm under time. We've talked about, you know, culture being for everybody and that perception that certain parts of culture isn't for everybody. And you touched on the opera, and as you said it, Luke, I got a message from my wife who said, "See, I've introduced you to more culture," because before we met, I'd never been to the opera, and I first saw some opera performed on holiday, and it was described to me by her as this is the greatest hits of opera. So I recognised things off adverts and things like that. So then that kind of got me to the next stage. We went to the Millennium Centre, and eventually when we went on honeymoon, I actually had the privilege to go to the Met, the New York Met, to see opera there, which was incredible. So yeah, there's different spectrums of our culture, but one of the things which is my hobby horse, which I'd really like to see in the future by working together collaboratively to celebrate our communities, is how we celebrate our working class culture on our heritage. We've got a rich industrial heritage here in Wales, and one of my favourite museums, outside of any in Wales as a caveat, is the People's History Museum in Manchester. And I think we've got huge potential to do something like that in Wales, but what I would suggest, not as a static, fixed site, but actually celebrating all those different sites right across the length and breadth of the country and finding a way to connect them up and like engage them into our tourism offer as well. So,
sorry, I just wanted to say how glad I am to hear a suggestion like that. I mean, one of my slight bugbears over the years has always been that we see the funding, not through government, of course, but privately, of stately homes, for example, but then we see miners' halls, working men's halls within our communities falling apart. Like you said, there's a rich industrial history within Wales that I don't think is celebrated enough, and we need to find a way to be able to protect some of those institutions and some of those buildings to be able to tell that history.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think we heard mentioned earlier today in a very different context, Fun and Groyw and the Point of Ayr Colliery. And what's quite sad to me is where that Miners Institute used to stand in Fun and Groyw is no longer there, it's houses. But what has happened in the past decade is that a group of old, I wouldn't like if I called them old, retired miners from the point have come together to create a heritage society. And we've actually seen one of the old pit heads be placed in a memorial on the edge of Fun and Groyw, and around actually the coast path towards Talacra, there's actually kind of signage and there's statues and one of the old pit wheels too. So it describes that history, but in the context of actually seeing our natural landscape at the same time. So I think there's massive potential to do that across Wales. Like I said, I think, you know, not to potentially have it in one site, because I could see us having kind of, I won't say argument, but a discussion about where is the most suitable location in Wales to have it. That's why I think, you know, if we could do it in an innovative way and have those multiple sites.
Take an intervention briefly. If we're talking
you
about...
both looked at the Clwyd when you said briefly. Then,
if we're talking about fantastic museums, would you join me in saying that one of the best museums is the Lloyd George Museum in Llanystumdwy? And if you go there, you can see the Versailles Treaty. You can see documents that Lloyd George had written during the 1916 Irish rebellion and uprising. And in that period of time, you can make sense of a lot of what's going on in the world today. And anybody going there will understand and have a greater depth of knowledge of the world that we're living in today.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And luckily, I have actually visited the museum, and actually, you know, it was a few years ago now. But I think, yeah, that's the sort of things that I don't think enough people know about, and actually where and how you can get. So I think there is a way we can connect that with our tourism offer too, to bring more people in to share this and share it with not just people that are coming from outside of Wales, but people that live within Wales. And I am going to close now, Clwyd. Just in closing, I think yes, we do need to build on that investment and keep investing in our cultural contributions. But I think, as I said, we also need to be innovative and take an inclusive approach, because as we heard today, our culture is not a luxury or a side note, it's the heart of who we are. It shapes our identity, strengthens our communities and drives our economy. So it's really important that we continue to work together to place culture at the heart of our Welsh vision and to see it strong into the future. Diolch.